where we have a weekly show. Guests come down, they talk, just like a lot of other interview shows, but ours is a little different in that our guests are bringing along the music that they like to listen to. And we've got a guest who grew up in Las Vegas. I think a lot of folks around the world now know the name of Mark Stoermer. Mark, welcome to Playing Favorites.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Oh, dude, when I saw your list of music selections, I was jazzed. You got some great stuff on here. And maybe not a big time opportunity to plug, but I'm going to go ahead and plug. You have a gig coming up at the Bunkhouse towards the end of the month.
October 28th.
Yeah.
I guess it's my side project / solo shows, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
It is my 4th show ever. So, and I'm playing with some local bands. I'm just taking it back to the beginning.
Hey.
Put together some guys practicing in the garage. No expectations.
Because that's how you guys started, right?
Yeah, exactly. You know, we were the Killers were a Las Vegas garage band. For anybody who doesn't know, we weren't some manufactured thing by the record label like the Monkees or something. And even though we have some very pop songs, we're very much a garage band.
Mm-hmm.
And anyway, we've been around the world and played arenas, stadiums, all that stuff. But my thing's a totally different project. I never wrote lyrics for the Killers. I never really wrote many lyrics for myself until fairly recently, until my mid-30s, 39 now. So it's a completely different experience, but kind of doing it for fun myself. But hopefully some people join me for the ride. And it's also fun to just kind of do it for music's sake.
That.
Because
it's not a business.
Yeah, because well, I'm really grateful for everything that's happened with the Killers and all that. It still becomes a business really quickly on that level.
Yeah.
And not complaining, it's a first world problem kind of thing. But that said, music is my true love and has always been since I was 7 years old. And I've been playing music technically since I was 9. So I think I'll do it no matter what, as a hobby or
exactly.
a job.
But I think we wanted to get started with one of your own tracks today, right?
Yeah.
What are we going to hear?
We're going to hear technically we call it a single, but it's not a single in the traditional sense. I'm making a video for it and putting it out on the internet, on Facebook, YouTube, etc. This song is called Blood and Guts, parentheses, The Anatomy Lesson. It's a song based on a Rembrandt painting called The Anatomy Lesson, which is also a famous subject that was used multiple times, I think, by artists too. But I kind of made up this story about the doctor teaching the other doctors.
Heavy stuff.
It's heavy, but it's not actually that heavy. It's also kind of, I took it to kind of be in the style of psychedelic rock opera, so it's a little bit not supposed to be too serious either.
Maybe we should listen.
There you go. Blood and Guts.
Mark Stoermer's our guest for Playing Favorites on KUNV. Playing Favorites on KUNV, Nathan Tannenbaum with our guest Mark Stoermer. You heard his track, Blood and Guts, and then I would have sworn that was some pretty old Frank Zappa that you chose for us.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite instrumental rock songs of all time, Peaches and Regalia, off the album Hot Rats.
Hot Rats, exactly right.
And that was one of the first albums I ever bought as a kid, actually, maybe like among the first 5.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to wear it out when I was like 14. I just bought it because of the cover. I didn't actually know much about Frank Zappa at the time.
Now, were you getting music training in school, or was this just you playing stuff on your own?
Well, as far as playing, I kind of was forced into playing the trumpet at 9, and that's because I was told I could pick this instrument or this instrument, like trumpet or clarinet or trombone, because that's what we had in the house. My dad played guitar, but I wasn't allowed to play the guitar because it wasn't a band instrument, and so he never showed me anything. He played jazz guitar. And
did he play lounges around town?
A little bit. He was a doctor, but he also...
oh, okay. He dabbled.
He dabbled, but he actually played semi-professionally. He put himself through med school.
Right on.
Playing guitar. But
you don't get to touch the guitar, son.
I don't get to touch the guitar. I wanted to play drums. Can't play drums. Trumpet. 9 years old, started playing trumpet. Had some lessons in that. And, and then did the band thing and all that. But I picked up bass and guitar on my own later in my teen years.
And you found the Frank Zappa album somewhere.
And now, as far as listening to music, yeah, that just was being in a record store, and I saw the cover and thought it was cool. I was just starting to get into rock.
And they had record stores. There are not too many record stores anymore.
No, there's not many.
Did you visit Odyssey, or where did you?
This was actually, I was on vacation in Arizona. I think it was a warehouse or something like that.
Okay,
Yeah.
but it made an impression.
Yeah.
And obviously, you can't go wrong with Frank Zappa, one of the musical geniuses of our time.
Yeah, definitely. One of the most prolific writers, and especially in the world of rock, but he's also a composer.
Yeah, absolutely. All that stuff.
Yeah.
And now you are exploring your own compositionality. You're doing your own stuff now, writing some songs and doing it for the love of it and putting it out there for folks.
Yeah, exactly. I only started writing my own lyrics and songs a few years ago, but doing a little bit of that. I released recently my album Dark Arts, was my second album ever, and I'm actually working on a new EP now that I hopefully put out in January. Have a couple songs for that already, but I think I wanted to get a couple albums, but people don't listen to albums anymore.
Right.
And I want to have those there, and then I would actually prefer to do shorter releases. I kind of like the idea of just doing a couple songs and just putting them out.
Yeah. Now, I was watching some of your videos. There's one where you talked about Clark County.
Yeah.
Which one was that? Was that on the second album?
That's the first album.
Okay.
Everyone Loves a Girl. It's kind of a country ballad-ish.
Yeah. But I was going, hey, he just said Clark County. That's awesome.
Yeah. It rhymed. My original lyric, I had Tennessee, and I said, no, keep it real. To myself, I said.
Exactly.
And county rhymes with Tennessee, so it replaced, at least the ending does.
Absolutely. It worked. No further questions, Your Honor.
Yeah.
We're going to move on to your next musical selection for us today, and it is a group that I'm not super familiar with, the Ghost of a Saber-Toothed Tiger?
Yeah, and the song is called Animals. This is, I'm playing this because it's from a band of a director, actually, I'm collaborating with it, making two videos. One video is the Blood and Guts video, which will be out next week. And this is a band of two people. It's Sean Lennon and his girlfriend, who is the director, who also directs their videos as well, if you look them up. They're pretty out there. But her name is Charlotte Kemp Mole. And we came together on a lot of similar influences as far as directors, like 60s kind of cult directors, Jodorowsky, Kenneth Anger, Ken Russell, and we kind of created this kind of wacky rock opera inspired by that kind of stuff video for Blood and Guts, and we're actually doing another one. And they have a band called, what you just said, Ghost of the Saber-Toothed Tiger, and the song is Animals, and the video, if anyone wants to get an idea what Blood and Guts might be like,
check it out. Check
out the video for this song later.
All right. Mark Stoermer is our guest, and we are playing favorites on KUNV. Okay, so we can anticipate a video similar from what we hear from Animals by the Ghost of Saber-Toothed Tiger, and your video, Blood and Guts. And then we heard another band from the 60s. Where did you start digging on Captain Beefheart?
Well, that kind of ties back to the Frank Zappa and
exactly.
the Hot Rats. So that's kind of why that was on my mind when I picked this playlist. Captain Beefheart I discovered because he's a vocalist on a couple songs, and Beefheart and Frank Zappa have that connection of growing up in the same town, but they also had a rivalry.
Yeah.
And they're kind of polar opposites, where
yes.
Zappa was the scientist and Beefheart was the not mad scientist, but a more kind of outside artist.
Mm-hmm.
And he's a big inspiration on me for some things I've been doing lately. My first album, I wrote a lot of story-based lyrics, and then on the second album, a couple of times I experimented with kind of stream of consciousness lyrics, because I started thinking, hey, a lot of my favorite artists don't have songs that make sense. And I did some surrealist exercises for a couple songs, like Drifting Caterpillar and
I love that one.
39. So thank you. And those were kind of inspired by Beefheart-esque lyrics of just kind of blanking your mind and throwing things together and see what happens.
A shout out to Captain Beefheart. How
Yeah.
about that? The track was Moonlight on Vermont, for those of you that want to look it up, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So now we're going to another.
Out on him. He had a crazy, amazing life. There was a musical, I guess, produced by Jay-Z that I saw in New York a few years back, and it's an amazing production. If you check out the music and are interested, I don't know if they're still doing this, but if ever,
Yeah, I'm going to look that
if
up.
it comes out again, and it's just called Fella,
Yeah.
and he is one of my big inspirations, just musically. It doesn't come through in the music, but it's just music I love.
Well, it's you talk about the music that comes from within a person. This guy, he had to get it out. It was in there and had to get out.
Yeah, exactly. It's passionate and
Yeah.
it's from his soul, and you can hear it. And anyone who hasn't checked it out, I think should.
And what track are we going to hear?
Well, it's called Trouble Sleep Yanga Wake. And I think this is actually a cut-up version of it from a semi-remix album, but I think it's a good introduction.
Excellent. Mark Stoermer, our guest, as we are playing favorites on KUNV. Well, thank you so much for listening to Playing Favorites on KUNV. Nathan Tannenbaum, your host, with Mark Stoermer. Mark, thank you again for taking time out of your busy schedule to hang out with us here for a little while. We started out with Fela Kuti, and then we did another left turn musically. So you like Georges Frederick Handel?
Yes, that's the other side of the spectrum of my influences. Lately, I've actually been listening to a lot of classical music. I think it's one of those the genres that's endless, that you can explore for the rest of your life and never really completely grasp it, because there's just, from the greats, there's just so much material.
Yes.
And it's on another plane, musically and mentally, where you kind of have to go to it. It doesn't come to you like pop music and rock music. But I appreciate that, especially at this stage in my life. And I was in the car once listening to satellite radio, and I heard this piece by Handel, Il Pastor Fido, it's the faithful pastor, and the overture of that. And I'm attracted to a lot of the music from the Baroque period, like Handel and Johann Sebastian Bach and Vivaldi.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of different musical influences in your life, and are the things that you compose, the things that you write, sort of some byproduct of all of that getting mashed up in your brain, or when you're writing, is there a specific thing that you feel like you have to do, or just everything that you have listened to in the past, all of your other experiences and your music with the Killers, or you're just writing stuff out that's coming out of you?
It's tough. I think it's all there your whole life. Everything you listen to can be an influence, and it's hard to say how much. But it's hard to plan it. Like, I want to do something like this.
Okay.
And I tend to, for me, write lyrics first. And, I have limited capabilities. I'm a rock musician. I'm not, if I could do stuff like Handel, I would. But I do maybe... or I either do or ask someone to do an interpretation of something that's Baroque-like. And we've done a couple of things like that on my album, Dark Arts, where I asked my collaborator, producer, David Hopkins, who is a piano player, keyboardist. He's not really a classical musician either, but he can dabble. And then we have a couple moments where I say, do something like Bach, and it's like the dumb version, but either way, we get it in there.
Absolutely. It's all good. And we're going somewhere else now musically, from the Handel to something, I think we were talking before the show, something that the kids listen to these days. Is that right?
Yeah. I guess the kids, if they're above 30, I guess.
That's right. So we're not calling ourselves old.
Yeah,
we're just referencing the kids.
Yeah, exactly. This is a newish song, I think a few months old, from the Strokes. It's called Oblivious. I just thought I had to put some semi-contemporary music in. And they're one of my favorite bands to come on the last, now it is almost 14, 15 years. And
Can you believe it?
Yeah, so they are classic rock now. But this is one of their newer songs.
And it's Oblivious. And Mark Stoermer's our guest on Playing Favorites. Well, then, we started out that little segment with the Strokes and their track Oblivious to another one of the all-time greats, paired with another of the all-time greats. When these two cats got together, some people said, "Are you kidding me?" But it was lovely, lovely music. We're talking about Sinatra and Antonio Carlos Jobim.
Yeah, I love that album. I love both of them.
Yeah.
Like most do, or many do. But that's one of my favorite Sinatra albums and one of my favorite Antonio Carlos Jobim albums. If I need to chill out or something, I listen to that. But these songs, the Jobim songs, have been done many times, and it's usually always good for the most part.
Yeah.
But this is the man himself playing with Sinatra, and I think it's one of the best versions of like How Insensitive.
Now, we're talking with Mark Stoermer from The Killers, but he's also doing stuff on his own these days. And I wanted to ask you about growing up in Las Vegas. Did you guys, your family, ever go see Sinatra?
Yeah, actually, I was able to see Sinatra from the side of the stage once, and I was 17 years old, and I think it was only a few years before he died.
Yeah.
And I appreciated it, but I didn't appreciate as much as I do now that I got to see him.
Right.
Like, especially at 17, I didn't think, like, oh, he's not going to be around long.
Right.
He wasn't around much longer.
Yeah.
And I got to see him, I forget where it was. It might have been at the Mirage or something like that.
Yeah, he played around. He did.
Yeah, it was one of the casinos, but it was in the 90s and side of the stage, and that's one of my great live moments of seeing
Are you kidding me? Yeah, I mean, to see Sinatra live was one of the highlights of my life. It was just so incredible to be in the room with the guy. He was older.
Yeah.
Forgot the lyrics a couple times.
Yeah, he had teleprompters.
Exactly.
But I wasn't judging.
Yeah, no, and he made fun of it.
I can't remember my own lyrics, and I'm not that old.
I also want to drop a story on you. That one of my favorite performances of The Killers is maybe not one of the albums. It is. It's even on YouTube. It is you guys introduced by Barack Obama singing the Nevada State song at a fundraiser for Harry Reid.
Yeah, that was all weird how it came about. We usually stayed out of politics, but we felt at the time, and it was 2008, right?
Might have been 2010. I don't know.
It was when. You might be right. I don't. I thought
when
it was
elected for the last time.
No, first.
Oh, okay.
It's
so
around the
that'd
first because it's the year after. You're right. Sorry, point is we haven't done many political things. Period.
Right.
But
and wisely so.
Yeah.
You know, the music speaks for itself. You don't want to alienate one side or the other.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we also have different opinions within the band. So there's no
that
one side. And at the time, it was more of a chance to meet the president and sort of support Nevada.
Exactly.
Because we thought it was good to have a majority leader from Nevada, regardless of what you think of him.
Well, and I think all of Nevada is going to realize, again, not to get political, but having that kind of leadership from either party in your state is a big deal. And to not have that, we're going to find out about that real soon.
Yeah, exactly. But we were being more Nevada-centric than taking a party.
But I also think you guys rocked on Home Means Nevada.
Thank you.
It was awesome. All right. Moving right along then with our guest, Mark. It looks like we're kind of running out of time here, my friend. So I think we have time for another track of yours, right?
Yeah, this is the second to last song on my new record. It's called What Was in Between. The thing I like most about it is the string arrangement that I'll mention. Co-producer David Hopkins did on this for me. I wrote the lyrics and the chords, and he put some amazing strings on it, in my opinion. And song's called What Was in Between. It's too much to go into. It's not one of those songs I want to.
You can listen.
Explain.
Exactly. Listen and draw your own conclusion.
Exactly.
Mark Stoermer's our guest. We're playing favorites. So we started out with your track, What Was in Between, and that's off of Dark
Arts. Yeah.
Dark Arts. And those are all available on all the different downloadable music sites that all the kids have these days.
Yeah, iTunes, Spotify, Apple Music. The physical versions are available at markstoermer.com.
So you do put out CDs still, or do you do vinyl?
Just through my own little store on my website.
Just your own little store.
I'm doing a in-store at 11th Street Records on August. We're in October now. It's October 29th. I'm doing an in-store at 11th Street Records, and I'll have some records there. But at the moment, there's not a huge distribution. It might be somewhere, but...
So there's some vinyl?
There's some vinyl for sure, and it's on my website, and it will be at 11th Street Records too soon.
That's a great store.
On October 29th, because I don't think they're stocking it yet.
Okay.
They're making me go down there first.
And that's okay.
Yeah,
I would guess that it's still kind of a thrill to meet people that listen to your music.
Exactly, and it's good. It's a different experience from playing a bar, and it's all ages. So those of you who don't want to do the midnight show at the bunkhouse, you could come down just around the corner in the daytime on, I think it's a Sunday, whatever it is. It's October 29th.
I think it's a Saturday because the 28th is a Friday night.
Okay, so Saturday afternoon, it's an all-ages show, so that's another plus, and, different environment, so kids could come.
It's a Vegas dude.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm guessing you still have a lot of love in your heart for Las Vegas, right?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
It's love-hate sometimes, but there's probably more love than hate. The hate is just, like typical, like it could be better if we just did this, but or if it wasn't so hot in the summer. But some people love the heat. I'm not one of them, but I still deal with it.
Hey, and before we get out of here, I forgot to mention that you played one of my all-time favorite musicians from the 1960s. I grew up listening to Donovan.
Yeah.
Is that part of your musical growth experience, just digging around the albums?
I discovered him a little bit. I mean, I knew he was like the hits, but I got into him a little bit later, possibly within the last 10 years, not as a kid. But I think he's actually a pretty underrated songwriter. He gets some credit, but I think he's better than people think if you really delve into his catalog.
Oh, awesome stuff. Just a great... I wish I knew more about the dude, but the music's awesome. Mm-hmm. Awesome talking to you, Mark. I really appreciate you taking the time to come down, and good luck with the future projects. Got the music videos coming out, the gig at the Bunkhouse, and the visitation to 11th Street Records.
Thank you.
Mark Stoermer, everybody. As you know, Playing Favorites is produced and engineered by the lovely and talented Ginger Bruner. This is Nathan Tannenbaum inviting you to join us again next week at this same spot on your radio dial when we're Playing Favorites on KUNV. Thanks, man.
Thank you.